They say love is blind, but now I know that love is actually a deliberate choice to close your eyes to the abyss. My name is Elena, and I made the biggest mistake of my life. The mistake wasn't loving him, but believing I was the exception to the rules he had already broken so many times before. Julian wasn't just a man. He was a silent storm. When I met him, the air seemed to vibrate. He had that kind of magnetism that makes you forget your own name, a smile that promised secrets only I would have the luxury to know. I remember the first night at the gala, the way the light caught his eyes, making them look like polished obsidian. He moved with a grace that felt almost predatory yet elegant, but the voices started early. My best friend, Sarah, was the first. She saw how he held my wrist with a little more force than necessary during an ordinary dinner party last June. He has the eyes of someone who never truly sleeps. Elena, she told me, her voice heavy with a concern I mistook for jealousy. I just laughed and ignored her warning at the time. Sarah had seen men like him before. She worked in social services, dealing with the aftermath of charming men who turned into monsters once the front door was finally closed. I told her she was being cynical. I told her that Julian was different, that his intensity was just a sign of how much he cared for me. I chose his lies over her honest truth. Then came my brother, Marcus, a detective who learned to read the human soul through the lies people tell. He didn't need much time to give me a very blunt and direct verdict. There's something wrong with his history. Elena, the gaps in this man's life are too large to be just coincidences. But I was deeply submerged in a very dangerous dream. Marcus showed me files of missing links in Julian's past, employers who didn't exist, schools that had no record of his name. Julian explained it all away as identity theft. I believed him. I actually felt sorry for him. I thought he was a victim of a cruel world, and I was the only one who could see the real him behind the shadows of his past. The third person to warn me was Julian's own mother, a frail woman named Evelyn who lived in a secluded nursing home. When I visited her, she didn't offer me tea or a smile. She grabbed my hand, her skin like parchment, and whispered, "Run while your heart is still yours. He doesn't love, he collects. And once he has you, he will never let you go." I thought she was demented. I told myself she was bitter because Julian had distanced himself from her. I didn't realize she was trying to save me from her own flesh and blood. The fourth warning came from an anonymous letter. It arrived at my office, postmarked from a city Julian claimed he had never visited. It contained a single, chilling sentence. He doesn't change the ending. He only changes the girl. I tore it up, convinced it was an obsessed ex-girlfriend trying to ruin my happiness. I fed the paper to the shredder. Then there was Mr. Henderson, our elderly neighbor. He was a quiet man who watched the street from his porch. He stopped me one day while I was gardening, his eyes full of pity. "I've seen 3 women move into that house with him. Elena," I said softly, "none of them ever moved out. They just faded away." I told him to mind his own business. I thought everyone was against us, that Julian was misunderstood, a man wounded by the past who just needed the right kind of affection to finally heal. I was so incredibly wrong. The first real red flag wasn't a scream, but a whisper. We were in the kitchen when he mentioned he didn't like me talking to Sarah. He said she was toxic and dragging me down. He started small, suggesting I wear different clothes, suggesting I stay home more. It felt like protection at first, but slowly, the walls of his protection became a cage. He had a way of distorting reality that made me question my own sanity. Within months, I was isolated, living in a bubble he built for me. I was trapped in his dark design. The windows of our new house were too high, and the doors always seemed to be locked from the inside. Isolation wasn't just physical, it was a mental prison of pure doubt. I found myself apologizing for things I hadn't done. I apologized for the weather. I apologized for his bad mood. I was becoming a ghost in my own life, fading into his shadow. One night, Julian went out for a business meeting. He forgot his laptop, and for the first time in months, he didn't lock the door to his private study I had. To know, I found a wooden box hidden under the floorboards of his office. My fingers trembled. I knew that if I opened that lid, there would be no turning back for my peace of mind. Inside, there were no photos of ex-girlfriends or love letters. There were passports with different names, all with his photo, and photos of women I had never seen before. All of them had something in common: a small silver pendant that he gave me in our first month together. I felt my blood freeze as the weight of the truth finally hit me. The women in the photos weren't just exes, they were trophies. I looked closer and saw newspaper clippings tucked in the back. Each one was a missing persons report. I wasn't the first, only one in his life. I was just the next in line for a pattern he repeated with surgical and terrifying precision. I was destined to be the next victim. I heard the sound of the key turning in the front door. My heart was beating so loud I thought he would hear it before even entering the room. I had to hide the box fast. I shoved the box back under the floorboards and scrambled to the desk, grabbing a random book. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The air in the room felt like it was disappearing. "What are you doing in the dark, honey?" His voice was smooth, but now I heard the blade hidden behind that sweetness. He was standing in the shadow of the open door. I tried to smile, but my facial muscles were paralyzed by terror. "Just looking for a book," I lied, feeling cold sweat drip down my back as I slowly backed away from him. Julian took a step forward, and the moonlight revealed his face. The charm was gone. There was only absolute coldness, the look of a predator realizing the prey had He walked toward me, his steps heavy and deliberate. He didn't look angry, he looked disappointed, as if I had failed a test they had spent months preparing for me. "They warned you, didn't they?" he asked, tilting his head in an almost curious way. "Sarah, Marcus, my mother. They all saw who I was, but you chose to stay here with me." He was right. That was the part that hurt the most. The fault wasn't just his for being a monster. It was mine for ignoring every sign, every instinct, and every warning. I realized then that I had been my own jailer. I had handed him the keys to my life because I wanted to believe in a fairy tale that was actually a nightmare in disguise. I ran for the window, but the locks were new and reinforced. He approached slowly, savoring the fear radiating from me like it was an expensive and intoxicating perfume. "The problem with people like you, Elena, is that you believe in redemption. But some things in the world are just born to destroy, and I am one of those things." He reached out his hand, the same hand that had held mine at the gala. It looked different now. It looked like a claw. I could see the cold determination in his dark eyes. I broke the glass with a metal lamp, shards cutting my hands. The sound was like a gunshot in the silence. I had nowhere to go except into the dark world outside the house. I jumped before his hands could reach me. The fall was short, but the pain was intense. I ran through the forest, branches whipping my face, never looking back for a second. The darkness of the woods was terrifying, but it was nothing compared to the darkness of the man I had married. I pushed through the thorns, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I could hear his footsteps behind me. Steady, calm rhythms. He didn't need to run because he knew every trail of that property he had chosen so carefully for us to die in. "You can't hide, Elena," he called out, his voice echoing through the trees. It sounded almost musical, a haunting melody that made my skin crawl with 1,000 needles. I reached the main road, my lungs burning as if they were full of hot coals. Car lights appeared in the distance. I screamed with all the strength I had left in me to be heard. The car stopped. It was a stranger, but any stranger was better than the man I called my husband. I got into the vehicle and cried like I had never cried in my entire life. The driver was a young woman. She saw my bleeding hands and my torn clothes. She didn't ask questions. She just drove. She drove until we reached the nearest police station. Today, I move cities every 6 months. I don't answer unknown numbers. I don't trust charming smiles. The scar on my hand is a constant reminder that I survived him. I changed my name. I changed my hair. I live in the shadows now, a mirror image of the man I fled. I am always looking over my shoulder, waiting for the obsidian eyes. But the worst part isn't the fear of him finding me. It's the silence of the night, when Sarah's voice returns to my mind. "I warned you," and I finally have to agree with her. Never ignore your instinct. If everyone around you is seeing the fire, don't stand there waiting to be burned to believe the flames are real. Run while there is still time left. Freedom was expensive, but the price of my silence would have been my life. If you feel something is wrong, it probably is. Don't wait for too late to hear the bitter truth. Julian is still out there looking for the next exception to the rule. He is in the galas, in the bars, in the dating apps. He is the man you think is too good to be true. And I hope she is smarter than I was. I hope she looks at the passports. I hope she listens to her friends. I hope she hears the warnings before the front door closes. Because once that door is locked, the fairy tale ends and the harvest begins. Don't let yourself be the next trophy in a wooden box under the floorboards of a beautiful home. Believe the warnings. Believe the gaps in the story. Believe the people who love you enough to tell you the truth you don't want to hear. Your life depends on it. I am Elena, and I am the warning you shouldn't ignore. Look at the man next to you. Is he a sanctuary or is he a storm? Don't wait until the sky turns black to find out.